Most of us breathe tens of thousands of times each day. Our bodies need oxygen from the air to fuel aerobic cellular respiration. Oxygen's journey from the air to our cells begins in the atmosphere. At sea level, the partial pressure of oxygen, called PO2, is around 160 millimeters of mercury. All gases move from areas of higher pressure to areas of lower pressure. This can be in terms of total pressure, like in the atmosphere, or in terms of partial pressure, like within our bodies. When we breathe in, our lungs expand, lowering the pressure inside them below atmospheric pressure. So air, including oxygen, moves into the lungs. The air travels into the lungs through a series of branching tubes, which end in tiny sacs within walls. These sacs are called alveoli. Inside the alveoli, the inhaled air mixes with the air that was already in the lungs, which has less oxygen and more of other gases such as water vapor. As a result, the PO2 in the alveoli is less than in the atmosphere, about 104 millimeters of mercury. The alveoli are surrounded by small blood vessels called pulmonary capillaries. The blood entering these capillaries has a lower PO2 than in the alveoli. Because of this PO2 difference, oxygen molecules in the alveoli diffuse into the blood. Blood contains red blood cells, which are packed with a protein called hemoglobin to which oxygen binds. Each red blood cell contains over 250 million hemoglobin molecules, which can transport over 1 billion oxygen molecules. The blood that leaves the lungs is rich in oxygen. It travels to the left side of the heart and is pumped into blood vessels called systemic arteries. The PO2 in the systemic arteries is about the same as in the alveoli, around 100 millimeters of mercury. Systemic arteries deliver oxygen-rich blood throughout the body. The arteries lead to tiny blood vessels called systemic capillaries, which provide blood to the tissues. The PO2 in the blood entering the capillaries is about 100 millimeters of mercury. However, the PO2 is much lower in the tissues because the cells there use oxygen for aerobic cellular respiration. In the tissues, the PO2 is about 40 millimeters of mercury when you're resting, or even lower if you're exercising. The PO2 difference between the capillaries and the tissue cells drives the movement of oxygen. Oxygen molecules are released by the hemoglobin molecules and diffuse through the thin capillary walls into cells of the tissues. The cells in the tissues consume oxygen for cellular respiration. So when blood leaves the tissues through blood vessels called systemic veins, it has less oxygen than before. Thus, the PO2 in the systemic veins is lower than in the arteries, around 40 to 60 millimeters of mercury when you're resting. The systemic veins return this oxygen-poor blood to the right side of the heart. The heart pumps the blood back to the pulmonary capillaries in the lungs, and the cycle starts again.